We just got through some heat waves here in California, so I thought that I would give some quick tips on how you can protect your garden from your next heat wave. First off, what is considered a heat wave? Generally, for most regions, a heat wave is considered a period of time when the maximum and minimum temperatures are unusually hot for 3 days or longer, with those temperatures reaching or exceeding 90 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. But for me personally, I wouldn't consider it a heat wave unless it was going to be above 95 degrees. I haven't seen my garden struggle much or at all with temperatures below 95 degrees, even for more than 3 days. But again, that's just my personal experience. This first tip might be obvious, but check the weather forecast so you can look ahead to see when potential heat waves may occur. By being aware of future weather, you'll be able to plan ahead and get your garden ready versus doing it at the last minute or even once a heat wave has already begun, which can be stressful. The next tip is to provide shade. If you have container plants that can be moved to the shade and it's not too much of a hassle, move them. For raised beds or in-ground plants that might be sensitive to extreme temperatures, placing shade cloth over them can be helpful. Shade cloth will give off some nice dappled light so they can still get sun but don't get completely fried. Hold back on pruning. Pruning is wounding, and in extreme temperatures where you've made cuts, they might not heal properly. Also, for plants like tomatoes and peppers, while removing excess leaves for better airflow is advised, during extreme temperatures, the extra foliage can provide some more cover and prevent sun scald. Don't fertilize your plants. Even if it means you have to skip your fertilizing routine until the temperatures cool down, during a heat wave, fertilizing can burn your plants and can add more stress to them. Don't transplant or start new seeds. All plants, regardless of the weather, can face a bit of transplant shock, so during a heat wave, they have an even greater chance of transplant shock and might have a harder time getting settled. And with new seeds, the soil needs to stay consistently hydrated so that the seeds can actually germinate, which can be difficult in hot temperatures. Or, if they do germinate quickly, young seedlings are too fragile and will likely wither away, sometimes even just from the heat itself, even if they've been moved to the shade. Water at the right time. Watering in the morning before it gets too hot so your plants can actually absorb the water is best. Evening watering can be okay too, and some people will say that your plants might get root rot from evening watering if the soil stays too damp for too long. But honestly, if it's going to be really hot, evening watering should be fine, and I've never had an issue with it myself. However, watering in the afternoon should be avoided as that is when it will be the hottest. So the soil is going to dry out much faster and you'll have to use significantly more water to get down through all of the layers of soil. And speaking of water, before a heat wave, try to remove as many weeds from your planting areas as you can. Weeds can compete for water. The last tip I have is to mulch. I personally don't use mulch that often due to pest issues because mulch creates a nice little haven for pill bugs and earwigs, but if it was going to be really hot and maybe I was going away on vacation, I'd risk it and mulch to help cover the soil and retain moisture. So even though I am not a fan of mulch due to pest pressure, I had to mention it because if I didn't, people would come after me. Even if you did everything that you possibly could, you might still lose some plants. And while it can be upsetting, that's just a part of gardening, and sometimes things are out of our control. So if this happens, don't be too hard on yourself, and know that plants can be more resilient than you think, and some plants might rebound with some care, but hopefully these tips were helpful and all of your plants survive your next heat wave.